This chicken Alfredo is creamy, delicious, and super easy to make. It stores well in the freezer and it's fantastic to make for the week ahead.
I know you guys are going to enjoy this recipe because even though it's super high in protein, it does not compromise on the macros or taste. So let's get into it. Starting off, we're going to grab our chicken breast or chicken tenders, whichever you prefer. I personally like the tenders because they're easier to cook and cut, so that I keep them nice and juicy. I recommend cutting them into 1/2 inch to 1 inch cubes and try to keep them as even as possible so that they cook evenly throughout. Once you're done cutting your chicken, we're going to season it with Italian seasoning. For those in other countries that may not have it, it is essentially mixed herbs with mainly oregano. Any amount of Italian seasoning works. It's all about your preference, so experiment and have fun with it. Now we're just gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper. Then grab your jar of minced garlic, and you wanna do about a teaspoon of this. Now you're gonna add your lemon juice to the chicken. You're only gonna need a little bit. A little trick that I learned is to shove a fork in the middle of the lemon. Just move the fork back and forth while squeezing the lemon, but just make sure that you don't get any seeds because you don't wanna bite into any of those. Now, just mix your chicken all together. Make sure that it's evenly coated and place that to the side. Now we're gonna grab our onion, make a small slit on the side and peel off the top layer. Once you're done peeling your onion, you're gonna cut off the top part. But make sure you keep the root. A little trick I learned from Gordon Ramsay was to keep the root on, because if you cut the root off, the onion will bleed and that's what makes you cry. So cut your whole onion in half through the root. You'll want to cut across the onion with the knife facing the root. Once you've done that, hold your onion like a tennis ball and slice down to get nice minced onion cubes. Now, I've grown up in Africa, and a big policy of ours is that nothing gets wasted. And doing it this way allows us to waste as little as possible. And there's no tears. Also, big shout out to everyone that has commented about the Gordon Ramsay method. Now, moving on, we're gonna cut our mushrooms. Now, mushrooms aren't called for in this recipe because I know there's going to be people in the comments complaining about them. But an old South African man said to me, eat it and you'll develop a taste for it. Regardless, you can add whatever you prefer. Once you're done cutting up your onions and optional mushrooms, put them in a separate bowl, and we'll come back to these later. Now for some fresh Parmesan, you can use any Parmesan that you like, even if it's already shredded. You're gonna need about 50 grams. Let's get started on the sauce now. Grab a blender. You're gonna need 300 grams of cottage cheese and 200 grams of unflavored, non-fat Mediterranean yogurt. If you don't have enough cottage cheese, you can always account for that by adding more yogurt. As long as it comes out to about 500 grams in total, that will be okay. Now we're gonna take our Parmesan and we're gonna add that to the blender. Some of the Parmesan that stuck to the little container when I was trying to get it out, and it just fell over the blender and the cutting board. But that's okay because you can never have enough cheese, right? Unless you're cutting like me. We're gonna add about 100 mils of milk to the blender. Now, all that's left to do is blend it up and set your sauce to one side. We're gonna go ahead and cook the chicken. Now grab a pan and spray it down with some olive oil. I like to use this little spray bottle which I got online. I like to cook my chicken at medium to medium high heat so that it doesn't dry out. At the same time, start cooking your pasta. Once your chicken is almost done cooking, add in your chicken broth. This recipe calls for 150 mils of chicken broth. Add in your vegetables. Once it's all done cooking, turn off the heat and wait about 1 minute. Now, warning, this can absolutely destroy your recipe. Add your sauce, but you do not want to simmer the sauce because we have lemon juice in there, and lemon will cause for dairy to curd and essentially turn it into a watery mess. Once it's mixed in, add some pasta. After you've added in your pasta, you're almost done. All we have to do now is plate it and make it look nice as a gym bro obviously wants to make it. I wasn't weighing it, so here I'm just dividing it. But if you would like to cook the chicken separately and add the sauce to the chicken and pasta, and then mix each meal separately, weigh it out individually. Completely optional, but add some chopped parsley and there's your meals. This recipe will make about 6 meals. Your family will also thank you because the house will smell amazing. This took about 30 minutes to make in total, and I just know you're going to enjoy them.
I hope you guys enjoy this meal as much as I do. Shout out to Aussie Fitness for the base of this recipe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.